Welcome to the Rumbidzai show. Thank you very much for watching. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe to our channel. If you're watching on Facebook, don't forget to share this video, like it, and invite a friend to watch. And also just leave a comment in our comment section telling us where you're watching from today. Thank you so much for being here and for watching. I'm so delighted today to welcome Alice Coles. Alice is an academic at the University of Reading, and I just love a blog that she wrote where she said she is a refugee feminist married to a white Englishman. And we're so happy to have her here. Welcome, Alice.
Thank you, Ruby. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you for coming. And we're going to talk, we're doing a series on race, on immigration and COVID-19 and some of the things that have been going on in the first half of this year. So we've had a wave that's gone around with the Black Lives Matters movement. And I've really been interested to hear your story about being married to a white Englishman. And I was drawn to your blog that you wrote about that. And I loved the way that you wrote it. And I just want us to talk about that and share some of your experience.
Okay, thank you very much. Originally, I was born in Bulawayo, from Bulawayo Queen, as they call
Bulawayo Queen.
Yes, I was born in Bulawayo. So I grew up in Bulawayo and then moved to Harare when I started working in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And I was working there for about 12 years in the diplomatic service. Then after that, my first posting was in Belgrade, Yugoslavia, then called Yugoslavia. I was quite very young, I think, 23, and naive then. And then came back home again and went to Mozambique, where I worked again for 7 years in the embassy there. And then I came to the UK in 2002.
Okay.
Yes, that's when I arrived here.
That's
so
interesting.
I've been in the UK since 2002.
Wow. And where did you, which part of Bulawayo are you from?
I was born in Mpofu.
Okay.
But where I say when I'm going home, I'm from Gwabaland. That's where I grew up and went to Mzilikazi High School.
Oh, really? Oh,
yes,
that's good. That's a small world. My sister and my brother, the eldest two, went to Mzilikazi as well.
Okay.
And we used to live at the United College, so it's a small world.
It is.
At UCE.
Yeah.
That's great. And then so 2002, you came to the UK after having traveled, Yugoslavia and Mozambique.
Yes.
That's amazing at a young age. And then how did you, today I want to talk more about your blog that you wrote, and you're married to Wayne, who is an Englishman. How did you meet? If you could tell us a little bit of how you got married and where did you meet?
Okay, I was married before, and I have got two daughters, Michelle and Taddy, Mimi and Taddy as they are called. But my husband died when I was only 33 years, sudden death. And I was on my own for quite a long time. And also along the way, on my own, also when I was in this country, I had breast cancer, and it was really severe. It almost took my life, which I did write also a book about. It's called Dear God, From Your Poached Egg Breast. So it was quite traumatic to me because I also had past traumas. I had lost a husband, I had lost 4 brothers, I had lost mom, dad in a space of 13 years. So we don't realize the traumas that we carry when we walk around until you realize you're on your deathbed and you have to resurrect yourself through other things. So through the spirituality, I had to do something.
Wow.
So,
can I just stop you there just before you go? Your book. So it's called Dear God.
From Your Poached Egg
I've
Breast.
got one upstairs. Actually, because I got one from you when we met. It would be so good if you could send me the link and we can actually get people to buy some if it's on Amazon. So they can read about your history and your experience, because many people go through breast cancer. So that's really powerful. And you're here.
I'm here. I'm very lucky to be here. I'm very lucky. So after the breast cancer, because I had severe operations, I didn't feel like a woman anymore. When you have this kind of cancer, it really damages you in certain ways, and you just don't feel like a woman anymore. And people don't talk about those things in our culture. Breast cancer, my auntie had breast cancer. It's not talked about. It's because it affects the breast, and it's somehow breast ipstoma is there something very special.
Yes.
And in the sense of growing up, I knew that it just had killed me, literally. And then I met my husband after I'd done a lot of work on myself.
Okay.
Because I'd had so much trauma, and I had to deal with that first. But a friend of mine who lived up north knew my husband Wayne, and it was organic, introduced me. In fact, were having Sunday dinner, and my friend is from Zimbabwe. They were sitting down and they were debating about politics, and my friend just said, okay, fine, all of you guys, you think you know politics, let me put my friend on the speakerphone, and she'll actually tell you what it is about politics. And
really?
That's how I started chatting with them at home. I was there at home and chatted with them, and we're debating about politics while they were having their dinner. So afterwards, as I hear, when then asked my friend to say, can you give me her number, and I want to get in touch with her. She sounded like she's very much interested in politics. My husband, by profession, is a journalist. So we found something in common to debate.
Common.
Yeah. So that's how we met. We met.
That's
he used to drive in a day from where he lived in Hull, 4 hours, 5 hours to Reading.
Wow.
And then go back the same day.
Wow.
So he insisted on all the love, giving it. And I felt the love.
Loved.
I felt loved, and I hadn't experienced that for a long time.
Wow.
And I felt the love. And also I was a bit skeptical. I was so used to the Zimbabwean kind of life of Zimbabwean men. And finding some kind of kindness was more or less like something that was a shock to me, because as my children always say, we are very rough so mazimba. And it's something that we almost accept as the norm. And some kindness was quite good to accept in the first instance, and think, I do deserve that.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And I was saying to you before when we were talking that some of our viewers and some of the women that I mentor through Freedom and everything had been asking me, they'd been saying, how can we meet Englishmen? Because they were saying they're tired of that rough love. And they want people who are kind. And I love what you said about that you worked on yourself first. So that when you did meet, you were now ready to receive love, and you were in a position where you were whole before you, because when you're broken, even if someone does try and love you, sometimes you don't receive that love. So that's very powerful, of that you spent a lot of time working on yourself first and recovering from the trauma, which we often underestimate. And I think that's key as well for many women moving on, that it's important to recognize the trauma. You mentioned so much trauma. You mentioned the bereavements, multiple bereavements, and cancer and migration, and you were widowed at a young age. And those are all, life-changing traumas. So that's amazing. Thank you for that lesson. And that's something so key and fundamental for people to listen to and to hear and to get into their heart.
I think most of the time that we don't realize we have trauma, and we move from one relationship to the other. I'm not saying I'm perfect, but I realized when I was quite ill in hospital that I actually had a lot of trauma. And I had to invest a lot of money in my trauma, counseling, therapy, going to whatever was there that could help me, books and all the other things, trying to get through all this trauma step by step. It's like peeling an onion, bringing out the pain. Kana wabayiwa nemunzwa aungaregere munzwa uri mukati. Unotofanira kubvisa.
And again, it's so important. You said you invested a lot. You invested time. resources, and you also empowered yourself through reading books.
Yes.
And that would be really, that's important for us, I think, to understand. I often say to people, give time, because sometimes when you've gone through trauma, you expect a quick fix.
Yes.
But there's no quick fixes because it's years of trauma and it's peeling layers and layers and layers. So that's amazing. That's powerful and a really good reminder for all of us. But the beauty of it is there's hope, isn't it?
There is hope in the sense of what matter. Love always wins. I always say that. It wins in the sense of saying that if you look at the dynamics, we are too different in color, as many people say. And looking at what is happening with Black Lives Matter, most of it is stemmed on the basis of looking at, the white people have done this and all that, that. Yes, it is true. It's structural and institutionalized. But actually, people can coexist together despite their race because we just won. In a sense, we just won. And I've been with my husband for 10 years. And I believe that there is a lot of things that we have in common, as much as if he goes to Zimbabwe, he did the Lobola part. Some young people don't agree about it now, but he managed to do it, which is our culture, and I love that culture. We've been to Bulawayo, we've been to Zimba, where my mom was born. We've been to places in Zimbabwe. Actually, he has traveled in Zimbabwe, most of the places in Zimbabwe, Nyanga, Victoria Falls, Karoi, all these other places. And there wasn't much difference in the sense of acceptability, except on the basis that when he's in Zimbabwe, he's held at high esteem because of colonization.
Definitely.
And I was at the back. Everywhere where we went, he's the one in front. Even in Mbare, there people were excited seeing him, where he spent a day playing snooker in Matapi with young people and all that. So what people say there's a difference is quite difficult sometimes to understand, except that you find that you are racialized. I was racialized when I'm in Zimbabwe with him because he's the one who is given more priority due to colonization and all those things that come with it. But I'm also racialized when I'm here because when we are together, when we go into restaurant, there's that kind of microaggression that you get. Are you together? And then they look at us and they say, yes, we are together. Oh, all right, coming. So the things that happen slowly, or the service, or things, small little things, you think, oh, this is it. And sometimes he also talks about, oh, I'm also discriminated, Alice, in my own part as a white person, because I'm also ginger. And so many white people discriminate me as a ginger person. So inside, there's different layers.
So
in that.
Wow, so that's really interesting about how you experienced it in Zimbabwe, where we have a colonial mentality of white supremacy.
Yes.
So everywhere that you went, he was he received preferential treatment, isn't it? And we've seen that in growing up in Zimbabwe. And then here you receive a different type of treatment. And how about as a couple together, you've mentioned microaggression. Have you ever experienced overt racism as a mixed couple?
Oh, not directly like that. Most of the racism in the UK is very much institutionalized and structured in microaggressions and all these other things. It's covert and uncovered at the same time. But you find that it's systematic, that you can't actually say, I'm taking somebody to court because they've been racially abusing me if they haven't mentioned the N-word or done something extremely. Because it is within where you go, everywhere where you go, you are alert about, okay, we have to live a life, but we're a couple. But most of the time, like restaurants, places of where we appear as a couple and all that. My husband comes from a village in Lincolnshire. And the first time I went there were very few people that are black. And we sat in a restaurant, and my mother-in-law saw these young people running around me and the parents looking at me. And my mother-in-law went straight to the family and said, we want to have our dinner peacefully here. and my daughter, she's actually beautiful. We don't want people to be staring at her. Oh. And they actually stood up. She confronted that. But she's the kind of woman who grew up where black people didn't exist at all in the villages there. But that embracement of seeing the beauty in a person more than just the color of the skin. And she's embraced that very, very, very well.
Wow.
She has. She has.
So that's good. So that's really encouraging, because I know with some of the other conversations that we've had, people have talked about we talked with some young people about getting married, interracial marriage. And I know you've done some research, which we're going to talk about later. And one of the fears that some of the parents expressed was, if our children get married into white families or marry into a white family, we're concerned about how the older generation will treat them. That between the two of them, it could be okay, but we're not sure about the older generation. And what you've mentioned about your mother-in-law, that she's seen the person rather than the color, is, that's encouraging. And I would like to know perhaps your views on what would you say to parents, like Zimbabwean parents, whose children are marrying outside of their race? What advice would you give them when they try and stop them and things like that?
Well, if you look at it, Rumbi, historically in our country, a Shona marrying a Ndebele was a big, big thing.
Yes.
They wouldn't allow that. And Ndebele marrying a Shona, they wouldn't, or a Karanga, or whatever it was, all these tribes that we have in Zimbabwe.
That's true.
They wanted people to marry each other, but also there's also this saying that Roranaive Kumatongo, which happens like that. And yet we will never agree on how we marry each other internally ourselves as Zimbabweans. So in myself, I was married before. I was from Bulawayo, but I was married to somebody who came from Mount Darwin. Okay. And there were dynamics of those things. How we grow up in Bulawayo is totally different from going to the village in Mount Darwin. I had severe problems with my mother-in-law, bless her, rest in peace. But I had severe problems of acceptability also within that culture of who I was and the fact that I was who I was. So there are all those dynamics that go in where you are seen as not fitting in because they are looking for somebody who fits in, maybe from that same village, maybe who speaks proper language, maybe who dresses the same way, maybe who does things the same way, maybe who wears that red uniform in Methodist church or something like that. Yes. My mother used to wear that uniform. I don't buy into that. I'm still a Methodist person, but I don't agree with it. I don't agree, not that I don't have respect with women who do that. But all those kind of things still happen. So we have to look at us first, how we do it within ourselves, within ourselves. There's also in Zimbabwe what young people call colorization. Yes. It's also stemming these days. There's colorization, akashiba, chindima, and all these kind of labels that are happening and all that. So they don't accept you for the darker the girl, they don't like them. The lighter the girl, there's a problem. There's still problems within. So to parents, what they should know, I've seen my daughters who have friends who their parents have really actually even refusing, not only white, even Africans from other countries saying, we can't receive lobola. We can't even bless your marriage on those bases because they don't come there. But then at the same time, we are a Christian country. Let's talk about Zimbabwe. It's a Christian country. We talk about love of Jesus. What is love of Jesus? Did Jesus choose, this is a Samaritan, this is a Hebrew, this is a what?
Yes.
Everybody was loved despite all their flaws and who they were. So the most important thing is about love.
About love.
Love. As long as your daughter or your son is happy.
Yes.
I think it mostly happens to the daughters more than the sons.
Yes.
The sons can marry who they are. But the daughters are finding it more difficult for their parents to accept that. And I think what stems out of there, culture-wise, we are also different in Zimbabwe. So what will stop somebody having a relationship with somebody who is white? It works as long as they love you, if they respect you, They do all the things and they are willing to learn. As
That's
much
the
as
key,
we are
isn't it?
also here, we are learning other things about living in the UK and all the cultures that are there and trying to belong. Also, you have to try and learn about other things. Even within the Zulu themselves, they are divided.
The differences, exactly.
There are differences, yeah.
Yeah. And I think one of the key things is where a person is willing to learn, to integrate. And you spoke about how your husband paid lobola. He went to Zimbabwe, he went to Rimba, he traveled. So it's that, I think when we mix cultures, isn't it, or mix people from different backgrounds, is that willingness as well to learn from each other. And then to become one. So that's an important lesson.
It is, because also if you look at it, my husband is as English as they come. He has tea instead of dinner. He says, I'm having my tea instead of dinner. So the differences of accepting that is as English as they come. They come. I am as... Sometimes he says, oh, you're not black enough. I don't know what he means. Or you're not African enough. Or you are too African sometimes and all that. But I am that kind of person. I used to have dreadlocks, quite long ones. I'm an activist and I go with him, like when there are protests about human rights things, including refugees, about Zimbabwe itself. We get on the train, go to London. He's there. Doing that, and he's somebody, you have some commonality in everything. Somebody, if they don't abuse you, I think the bottom line is love. You can work around love.
That's powerful. That's great. We've learned so much and taken so many nuggets from this, and I just want to encourage people who have been listening. I think the key things that I've taken is work on yourself, ensure that you are whole inside before you try and keep moving on and deal with your trauma and realize that it's a process, it's a journey, and love conquers all. I think that's really key, that love conquers all, and that's what's important for us when we love each other and there's mutual respect. So that's so great. Thank you so much for that, Alice. And we're going to be talking a little bit more in another episode about some of your research and some of the stuff you're doing around parents. But this is good and it's positive for us. We've been talking about Black Lives Matters, and one of the interviews I just was talking to my daughter, and she said the movement made her start to hate, and she didn't like that negative emotion, and so she had to channel her emotion in a different way. And we start seeing and painting people all with one brush, that all white people are racist, and it's so dangerous to be in that place. And it's important to know that we can coexist, we can we are all people at the end of the day, and people are different. So that's a beautiful message that you've given to us, and I thank you for coming and sharing that, and thank you to everybody for watching. And we'll join you, we'll come again with Alice. Tune in next time so we can talk about some of the research that she's done. But don't forget to share this video, share your experiences, and if you've got any questions or anything that you want to discuss around this issue, drop a comment in the comment section. Thank you very much for watching. Be blessed. Thank you.